welcome to the Round Tables, George Mason University edition here. We got Jalal, Reha, your host.
And Mitchell Parker,
Mitchell
the co-host.
Parker,
Yeah, that's me.
Today we have our producers here from the FAVS department here. We have a big film festival coming up here, so we got a lot of films coming out. So first we got...
I am Livia. I produced Counter Girl for this spring showcase.
Nice, nice.
And I am Andre Wilson. I produced When She Left and Basura, Long and Hard.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm Zeyn, and I produced 3 films. I'm doing Flight Angels, I'm doing Risaka, and I'm doing 909 Nights.
I would like to start us off with, so how have you, what have you gained as being a producer in the FAVS department, and what have you learned about and stuff?
So I don't know about you guys, but I felt like there was a very concentrated environment of producers. Since there's not a lot of us, we got a lot of one-on-one time with Lisa Thrasher, our producing professor here. And that was really helpful because any kind of questions, she just is come and ask me every single week in her class. She's make sure you ask me any questions you have. And she just I don't know, she just does it all. You guys want to?
And I think the great thing about Mason and then, of course, Lisa and the producing concentration is everything that we learn by being hands-on. So pretty much, our classes aren't based out of a textbook. We're not chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3. It's from the very beginning. It's this day we're going to start on this production, and every single day after, we're constantly changing the syllabus based upon what we need to learn for that production. So that's what I really like about producing, is it's ever changing. You can't just follow a script.
Constantly adapting to what you're doing next.
Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But I think a big thing of it too is you get the freedom to how you want to run your set. So we don't we're not the same producers. Each one has a different work ethic, and I really respect that. I think FAVS let me grow my own way, and I got to test different ways of exercising my producing power or skills, and I really appreciate that about FAVS. So to take off what you guys said,
And that's actually a good point because I signed on to be assistant director for 909 Nights, which Zeyn is producing, and it's kind of because I wanted to see what I, as a producer, and how I kind of am authoritative in a way. I kind of wanted to be under someone else and see
I'm sorry for
The
you.
difference.
see the difference, because I'm always in charge of everything. I'm running around to all the different departments, but now I kind of just wanted to be stationary and see kind of how Z works. So I'm gonna be watching you the whole time.
Just taking a step back and kind of
Taking a step back and
learn
observing.
from someone else.
Yeah.
One of your peers, and sometimes it's the best way to learn, right? Just learning
Definitely.
from people around you. And how have you learned from that? How do you feel so far?
Oh gosh.
Meeting tomorrow.
We
so
have our
we'll
meeting
see.
tomorrow morning, bright and early.
Yes.
But it's definitely helped me to understand that I have to be patient because Z has so much stuff to do, which the same. As a producer, you have so many emails, messages, text messages, and you have to wait for permits and things to come through. So if I'm waiting on, for example, a shot list to be finalized, I can't be barking at the producer, can I get this shot list so I can do my next step? So that's kind of a good way for me to know. I need to make sure everyone knows what's going on, keep everyone updated, because then the final product is going to be much better because of that.
Communication,
Yeah,
it's key.
Communication is
Touch
key.
everyone.
Yeah, but also producers have a big say in the creative side, which I think is undermined generally. We're not just bosses. We have a say in the creative side that will help your film be way better, logistics-wise and story-wise. So yeah, that's the thing I'd like to point out. We
Yeah.
are creative people.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
can do this.
You guys have your hands in the business and creative. You guys have your hands in everything. That's kind of the ultimate job, really, on a film set. So how do you guys go about, I'll start with you, Liv. How do you guys go about picking your projects and who you want to work with?
So I first started being on sets here my sophomore year, and since then I was a PA and script souping, and from there I just kind of learned what I liked and didn't like on sets, who I thought had great work ethics, who I really liked what they did on sets, and how it came out in their finished product. And so that's kind of how I went about finding the team that I got for Counter Girl and that I've gotten for past projects as well.
And as a producer, I guess, going about my projects, I usually go with, it's always worked out to where it's just been my friends. We're not really working as a business or trying to get this film done for a deadline. We just kind of want to do how we all started, getting into this business into this kind of major is we just want to make films with our friends. So like when she left, which we just wrapped this past weekend, Juan Pablo had been on 2 sets with me, and then we were sitting about to wrap 1 set, and he was like, oh, I have this idea for a film, and then producing never ends, so then we quickly jumped right into, he was sending me all his drafts of his script, and of course I'm just like invested from the very beginning. So with that, that's how I get onto most of my sets. It's friends, it's not thinking about, we have this deadline in a few months, we have to get this film done. We just want to make a fun
That's
project
great.
together
That's a great
and just work
Exactly.
together.
sort of organic process.
Yeah.
Definitely for our level of students, just
Yeah.
going about your business and really kind of immersing yourself in the project too, so you
Exactly.
don't feel, like pressured by class or anything like that.
Mhm.
Go ahead, Zeyn.
My story is different than you guys. So I started producing my first freshman semester. I did a senior film. I did Cope. It was a music, it was a music video / fast thing, and I just fell into it. She believed in me. She saw like an organizational side in me, and I said yes. And I started saying yes to everything. But now how I go by it is I asked them to send me a script because. It's not because I have standards, but it's about the story you're telling. No, it's because people always are like, oh, like, you're too like high for us now. No, but like when you send me a script and I see the potential of a great story that needs to be told, as a filmmaker, I have the duty to say yes to stories that need to be told. So I always pick the ones that have the story. That's how I go by my films now. And I always ending up working with friends because I've hired all of my directors to play other parts of their crew on my sets, and this is a way of like taking them back. And then when I'm a senior, and after graduation, we'll see.
Exactly.
Yes.
We'll get to that in a minute here. But so now you go about picking your projects, but how do you guys go about building your team and finding out who's the right person to work on this film and all that kind of stuff? We'll start with Zeyn, just to go change it up
You
here.
test them out. No, really, even if they're your friends, I've always said that. I see a person as a filmmaker and as a friend. So I have friends that I don't consider great to be on set with just because they don't work with the dynamics that I work in as a producer. So the way you pick your team is you ask other producers to evaluate their crew. That's something that I do. Usually I ask, hey, like, what do you think about that person? Would you categorize them as a fast working or slower working or more creative working? And it's really, the big part of it is trusting your crew too. When you trust your crew member and you give them the chance to do something by themselves, they will step up to it. So I've been lucky with that part. That's how I produce.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I definitely agree. You're it's weird when you're on a set, you have to be very conscious of everyone's kind of watching and they're relying on you. So you have to know that you have to kind of always be at your top potential. So I do definitely agree. It's based on past projects or word of mouth from other people. When you're desperate for a grip or a sound person, it's like, who do you know that can really step up? Especially in like a time crunch when, you're like 2 weeks before production, someone backs out and you're like, I need someone really good that can step up to that potential.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, someone good and reliable, which I think is like the main part, which is that whole backing out thing. But in my experience, for example, with Calendar Girl, I've known Hannah since my first day of college, and I've seen her do like so many different projects, and her like evolution from her being a theater major and doing acting to her directing a music video and to her producing the Emmy Award winning Through the Trees
Nice little
ad.
plug there.
But yeah, so I would say it's like not only seeing people for what they do in the current moment, but seeing their potential and seeing where they blossom into.
What do you guys do when you have like a crew member who's not really working out? Do you guys have?
That's when you get to yell.
Oh, okay. Be a
the
real
bird.
producer.
That's the bird of it.
What goes through you? What goes through you when you have to have that?
I have a few stages, and a lot of my crew knows. It's like I'm very happy, very bubbly, 7 a.m. I'm happy with my donuts and everything for my crew.
Aw.
But if everyone's chilling around, I get quiet. We make that eye contact. Typically, then they know. If they don't, then we kind of step aside, and I'm like, look at all these shots we have, our schedule.
You could be doing something.
Let's step in. If they're like, we're good, we're waiting on sound, I'm like, okay, well, you have all this equipment sprawled around. There's something to do.
Yeah.
No, for sure. Anyone else want to chime in on that, or?
I mean, I've kind of felt that At least in my sets, I have enough people who know what they're doing to do it, or I have enough PAs on set to kind of step up to the challenge because they really want to prove themselves. Because I try to get like as many freshmen as I can who just really want to like get in there and be really hands-on about it. So that hasn't been too much of an issue for me personally, but I mean, it happens.
That's good. Lucky. Yeah.
Yeah,
that is lucky.
It's really just luck, I feel like.
Nice.
I'm gonna say, like, just like Andre, I also, like, people who worked and know me, they know I have that, like, nice, bubbly person, but you can't mess with me. Like, no. Like, if you tell me you're gonna do something, and I ask you you're sure, and you say yes, you need to deliver it to me.
Ex-
Because
ex-
I am
Oh yeah, I
depending
mean,
on
I
you.
thought we were talking like on
No.
set.
No.
She's like,
I've had,
oh,
like,
here's my
Totally
list.
different.
No, but if it gets to the point of me having to ask someone to leave my set, I will do it. Even if you're my best friend, if you're now being a good crew member, I will ask you to nicely, friendly wise, we're gonna have dinner afterwards, but you need to leave my set.
Gotta put
Yeah.
your foot
Like,
down.
you have
Yeah.
to.
I think that's like the good thing,
Yeah.
us as producers, we kind of see the long term of the whole like set, the whole project. So if someone's like slacking off in like the camera department, we know, okay, we have to wrap at like 10 p.m. But if everyone's just chilling around, that's gonna get pushed back to like 11. So camera later on is gonna be freaking out that they're still here late at night, they have things to do tomorrow, and we're like, that's why we have been trying to push. We're not trying to be mean about things, we're just trying to think about the long term. Or like worst case scenario, we don't get shots and then we have to freak out to reschedule, and so we're always, we're trying to be the best.
We do it for you
Yes.
guys.
Thank you. We
It is for
appreciate
you
it.
guys.
I would also just add, like, when you get to a point where people just kind of respect you enough to, when they hear you say something, do it, they're like, oh, well, that person told me to do it. You're the producer, you're kind of, you're running around. And I think that's like, it shows that how far you've come too, where the people kind of listen to you in a certain way. They go, wow, you kind of have a presence on set. So this kind of leads into my next question here is unforgettable moments on set that kind of like, good, bad, interesting, that kind of like guided the way you do your job and stuff that you always learn from. Any unforgettable experiences?
Take your
Wow,
time.
I
You
have
know,
like- I have like a
think
list
about
of-
it.
Yeah.
You go ahead.
My favorite common experience that I have on set is the last day, last scene, when everyone knows everyone. There's no like ice to break anymore, and everyone's been working so hard for this. And in the middle of the performance, an actor purposely does something wrong or something very funny happens, and every single one of the crew, no matter who you are, producer, PA, sound operator, whoever you are, we all share that
Yeah.
moment on set to the point where we don't want it to end.
Definitely.
I love that shared experience on set. That's my favorite feeling ever. I feel like I built a family. It's nice.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful
nice,
feeling.
Yeah, it's a compliment. Like, I love it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I've definitely been there. Like
Yeah.
we've all kind of been through your struggles.
Yeah.
You've all been at your ups and downs, and it's that kind of the point where, okay, we just filmed and it was maybe not so great. Like maybe the conditions, like
We
it
made
was-
inside
Right, yeah.
jokes.
Yeah, but definitely like those last shots when you're just looking at like the set. As a producer, you're like coordinating all these things and everything. The emails, the text messages, the stress, it all kind of washes away
Oh, yeah.
at the end, and it's so worth it. That's what I love. Definitely that last hour or two on set. Sometimes like the last day on set when everything is just kind of working out, and it's just
Very
you
rewarding.
forget about everything else.
It's also addictive. It pushes you to
Yeah.
want more.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, like, do you want to make a sequel
Definitely.
or?
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Right. Oh my god, for sure.
For me, it was probably my first set, Burnout Land, when we had to like find the cruddiest van possible. So we went to Craigslist and
Quite the task.
yeah, of course. But no, it was just like I don't know, it's just the experience of like my first experience of actually getting something done just with my own like volition and doing it, and just that was, and then pulling up and everyone freaking out about it, and like just people, I don't know, like Cameron Perrier like veering off in the van so hard that it like was kind of at a 45-degree angle. No, it's fine. But he's
That sounds
alive to tell
terrifying.
the tale.
We are not insured.
But yeah, I mean, it was fine. It was fine. Everyone is still alive.
Could have
to this
easily been a
day.
bad story though.
Okay.
Very close.
But that's
not.
But
what
it's
makes
not
it,
a good- yeah,
That's what
exactly.
makes it funny, though, is the fact that everyone's still alive to tell the tale.
Now let's
Positive.
briefly talk about Film Lab. If you want to give us a quick just synopsis of what it is, and then talk about your experience.
So Film Lab is kind of like a culmination of the producing class and then the cinematography class. So producing is taught by Professor Lisa Thrasher, and then Professor Hans Charles, and then now Professor Damien Core, both kind of teach the cinematography aspect. And then we come together and make one big production. Big production being like a crew of like 60 people.
The
And
professional
SAG
crew, so-
actors and
Yeah.
people flying in to direct it from New York and LA. It's a huge production. And that's how when I was taking the producing class, kind of got thrown into the deep end in producing. Like literally, we had to get a pool and all this kind of stuff.
Oh yeah.
And I was one of like the location managers, so we were getting in contact with locations and all this kind of stuff. We were going out at like crack of dawn to location scout. It was crazy. And so
It was.
it's like I was saying, you can't learn this stuff out of a textbook. I would not be where I am right now if it was a class just based on like chapters in a textbook. Getting on a set and actually working on the pre-production, production, and post-production kind of teaches you what you need to know as a film student. So I definitely do appreciate FAVS and the Film Lab, because I really I wouldn't be where I am today as a person and as a producer without like the FAVS department.
I was in the I was part of the pickup, and I was the like office PA. I was the one in charge of all the contracts and everything, which I know you know very well. And then later on, I was part of the senior production team for Burp, which is Colette Burson's film that we did with SAG actors, and it was just a lot of moving parts. And yeah, it was just, I would say Burp was probably the most difficult, but the most I've learned on a set, on a singular set. And it was like really great to work with SAG actors and getting to know SAG reps beforehand and getting to know the paperwork side of everything and the more technical skills of producing, which I really appreciated. And then, yeah.
Film Lab for me was different. The first time it was just PA, so it was, hey, you need someone to throw a PA at you. Just like do it, whatever it was. Second time was Java, which I was part of the art department, and that was a whole different world for me because I used to love arts. I'm kidding, no, but it was hard. We had to get 50 mugs, and each mug had to be different for the film. So it was nice to see the very creative side of the film. And the last one was myself when I was real, and I was part of the senior, how would you call it?
You're not like a super senior. You haven't
No.
even. They call it the senior production.
Senior production team, yeah. So I was part with that with Chris Rothgeb and Katie Crane, and they're both amazing. And it was the contract business part of it.
Mm-hmm.
So I got the whole
That's awesome.
experience, the professional experience. It's a very important experience to have too. Other schools, I don't think they have it.
Yeah.
And right now during my internship, my boss always goes, "I can't believe you know this role." And I'm like, "Yeah, well, works with SAG actors. I got this."
There you go. There you go.
So yeah, it's a very positive experience, but also handling 60 plus
Yeah.
Right,
crew.
yeah.
That's a lot.
That sounds
Totally true.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds fantastic. I'm glad everyone's had great student experiences here and learned a lot and stuff. Now, I do have to ask you, Livia, you are graduating this semester. You guys have another year here. What are your plans for taking these experiences as a producer into the film world as you progress in the future?
This is too real of a question.
Sorry.
No, I mean, my plan is very open at the moment. I'm
Right.
really just open to anything really in the film world. It's really my thing.
Please give me a job.
Yeah.
That's kind of what producing gives you too. You have your hands in everything, so you can learn
Yeah.
about everything.
Yeah, I mean, I AD'd last weekend and I DP'd the week before that. It's just, I don't know. I'm fine with whatever comes my way.
Hire her.
Are you guys thinking about anything too, or?
At the moment, not really.
Not
I mean,
really.
I'm kind of right now at the point where I'm debating between film and TV, which route I want to go.
Right.
I have a very short attention span, so I don't
So-
think film is my.
But
I
then
don't
TV,
know.
you're on it for so long.
But I just feel like a film is 3 years, and it's I read one script and I'm like, I can't read like
Yeah, but
5 drafts.
shows can go on for
TV
like
is
12
like-
years.
Well, there's different episodes. It's changing. It's adapting. You have different locations.
You're constantly
Also, you have to learn
employed.
what-
I am producing a film. It's
And-
like.
It's like the same characters, the same story, like.
But when you see the same cuts over and over again of the same film, then I'm just like, okay, like, can we move on?
You know what? I would just like to add that film is ever evolving too. So you could be doing a project for a couple years, but while you're still finishing that one, your next one could come on your plate, and you could be also be thinking about what you want to do
That is a
next.
good point,
Yeah, exactly.
Or do both.
And what about you, Zeyn? Just a little bit. Or?
I already planned like what the next 10 years of my
Oh,
life.
wow.
No, I'm
Oh, yeah.
kidding.
Jeez.
But, I'm kidding. But,
Oh my God, we
not
should
too kidding.
take a picture.
So what is
So I already know what I'm doing in the summer. I know what I'm doing in the fall. I know what I'm doing next year. I know that I want a graduate degree because I feel like if I do want to speed that up to reach the producing level in the film industry, you need either a law degree or a business degree to like throw you right on top. And be like, I am
100%.
certified to do this. I can do this.
Look at this
But-
piece of paper. It
Yes,
says so.
I learned so much for it. No, but I've been making so many connections.
Mm.
But the second I open that door to actually start working professionally, it's gonna open a lot of doors. I'm postponing that to my last half of my last semester
Mhm.
because I'm not sure I want to open that door yet. I have a lot to make. I have a lot of mistakes to make.
Yeah. Hey, well, you know,
so
well, that's all about planning too. What we learn is film is just planning, everything planning. So planning your life, planning everything, and that's kind of like the gist here.
You gotta think about it.
you're the only person who seems to think that.
No,
I wish people
I'm
would
just
plan
kind
more,
of, I'm just
honestly, yeah.
kind of piggybacking off of that. The last question I really had for everyone here was, like going into film school. What were your expectations coming into film school? Like learning about this stuff, and has it met your expectations so far?
When I first came into film school, I didn't know like what I wanted to do. I was like, maybe I'll be an editor. So I got my mom to buy me a Mac. Like I don't know, it was very open, and then I got into it, and I just kind of realized where my skills already were, and then where they would like coincide in film, and that just so happened to be in producing. And that's what like Thrasher taught me, and that's what like my other professors like Hans taught me that like maybe cinematography wasn't for me.
There you go, Hans.
Well, you said you DP'd, right? So maybe it is for you.
You did it.
Did you see it?
Not yet. We'll find out.
And I'm the exact same thing. Ever since I was young, I knew I liked film and I liked filmmaking, but I just never really knew what, like, maybe an editor, maybe a director. I didn't even know what producing was, honestly. I just, as most people do, they're like, what does the producer do? I know you're important, but I don't know what you
Comes
do.
before the director.
Exactly. But once I came here, after about a semester or two, taking business of film with Thrasher, it was like exactly what I knew I would be good at. FAVS went above and beyond my expectations.
I had a very different experience again with because I moved to the country before like going into film school, so that was already a change. And then film was an escape for me. For my past life, I was in a very scientific or like lawyer or doctor based. Like, what are you gonna do when you grow up? Atmosphere, and I've always loved the moving image just in general. It was so fascinating for me, and I knew I wanted to get into it. Cut to moving here and going into FAVS, and I never even knew what producers did. Like, to me, it was either like director or actor, because that's what you know when you're 10 years old. And again, Elisa trusted me with her senior film, and I found that I'm very good at touching a bit of everything to make sure that the whole like wagon of filmmaking goes on. And I fell in love with producing. Then I had Thrasher as my mentor, and she's amazing. I love her. And yeah, it's just been like a very positive. FAVS was the best thing that's ever happened to me, and I've always said that. Yeah, I've always said that.
Do we all agree on that?
Definitely.
Do we all love
Personally,
FAVS?
I love FAVS. It's
Cool.
been the best thing I've ever done in my life. Coming
Yeah,
here
I agree.
and being in this program has been great, and everyone is so accepting of my diversity.
That's incredible, yeah.
I love this. I've never had a negative feedback on who I am, as long as I bring something good to the table. That's what people care about. So I love everything.
That's great. That's
the future
incredible.
of FAVS.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's probably the happiest answer.
It's really good.
Cool.
Up
See, I
note.
can be popular too.
That's fantastic.
That's just gonna be my answer from now. I love everything.
Are there any
Yeah.
closing remarks you guys like to say before we
Anything.
wrap it up?
Anything?
Well, I guess I would just definitely say to any incoming, like FAVS or just film students in general, the biggest thing I've learned is just get on a set.
Yes.
You have to, it doesn't even matter if you're just working sound and you don't like sound, or if you're working production design, you don't like production design stuff. Just get on a set, you'll find your kind of niche in film, but as long as you know that you like film, just get on a set. Because my first year I wasted not being on any sets, but then right when I haven't stopped since. So that's my biggest thing, is just try something.
Yeah, definitely agreed. And I think also the relationships that you build here are very essential to your 4 years here, because these are the people who you are going to want on your sets, and these are the people who are going to get you onto their sets. So cultivating your relationships with not only like students but also your professors to get like that great one-on-one experience and back and forth. Yeah.
No, you're completely right, 100%.
I would say also don't be scared to jump at a position you're not familiar with. Like always jump at it and then learn the craft of it, because you need to put your filmmaking. So I've always said that filmmaking is like a wheel. The second you have your hand in it, it drags you with it. So as long as you do that first step, like yes, it's scary, but do it. You need to do it.
And don't be afraid to make a mistake, because everyone's gonna make a mistake. That's the only way you can learn.
Make mistakes here
And,
before
yeah,
you go.
especially your crew, we know that everyone makes mistakes, and we've made mistakes, so don't be afraid to mess up, and then we can always like handle it and run and fix, but as long as,
We're nice producers. We
Yeah,
understand. We're all humans. We're students. We understand.
Not doing anything is worse than doing the wrong thing.
Definitely.
Definitely.
Right, and in film, we're always learning, whether here at school or constantly, even in the future. It's an ever-evolving game. Well, I just want to thank you guys for coming on tonight.
Thank you so much.
This is
Yeah.
Thank you for
fantastic.
having us. Yeah.
No, I mean, this is the first time we're doing this, but thank you for everyone for joining us here on the Round Tables with George Mason University edition. I'm your host, Jalal.
And I'm your co-host, Mitchell Parker.
right. Thank you again, and these are our producers. All right.
Have a nice night.
Have a nice night. Yeah.
See ya.